The Hind Rajab Foundation is in the midst of trying to pursue legal action against, I think it's 24 members of the IOF that they have identified who were responsible for the murder of Hind, for her family, for the 2 paramedics who were sent out to try and rescue her. So they know who it is. They have the names. Here we go. The Hind Rajab Foundation has already identified the 24 perpetrators involved in the murder of Hind, her relatives, and the medics who tried to save her. We know their names, ranks, units, and locations, including the heads of the snake. Benny Aaron, Daniel Ella, Sean Glass. We have also identified 21 additional IDF soldiers and tank crew members from the same unit and are filing cases against every single one of them. All these cases are currently active. Accountability is not optional. Okay, so the Hind Rajab accountability bill. This will require the Trump administration to provide comprehensive answers on the death of Hind and broader patterns of civilian harm in Gaza to reassert the United States' commitment to the Geneva Conventions and the prosecution of war crimes. Welch and Jacobs are the lead sponsors for the bill. Please link this. Yep. And then here's this. Hind's story and her recorded voice on the Red Crescent emergency call were the basis for Kauthar Ben-Hani as the voice of Hind Rajab, premiered at the Venice Film Festival last year and was nominated at the 98th Academy Awards. 5-year-old Hind should still be alive today. She was a beautiful and brave little girl with her whole life ahead of her, said Rep. Jacobs in a statement. I was horrified by reports of the Israeli Defense Forces firing over 300 bullets at her and her family while they were simply trying to escape Gaza. No child should have to face that kind of terror, and no family should have to face that kind of loss. Also, the ambulance that the 2 paramedics were in, the reason that they were delayed in getting to her is because they were waiting for the Israeli military to give them the go-ahead, to ensure them safe passage. And when they got that, when they got that assurance, then they set out to rescue Hind, and then the Israeli military killed them, murdered them. That is why I'm incredibly proud to partner with Senator Welch to deliver justice and accountability for Hind Rajab's murder and all the civilian harm in Gaza. Hind's story is a devastating reminder of the daily reality faced by Palestinians, and we won't rest until they have safety, security, and peace. While the Israeli Defense Force claims that there were no IDF troops near Rajab's vehicle, Forensic Architecture, a London-based independent research group, carried out an investigation using satellite imagery and visual evidence and concluded that several Israeli tanks indeed were present, and one had fired 335 rounds on the car that Hind and her family had been in. The investigation also concluded that an Israeli tank had also likely attacked the ambulance that came for Rajab. Hind, her family, and the paramedics who tried to save them should be alive today. This was not a fog of war situation. There was not any reason for the IDF to believe Hind and her family, who were trying to escape the fighting in Gaza, posed a threat. We need answers. We need accountability for the deaths of Hind, her family, and the paramedics who came to their rescue. Hind has become a symbol for the tens of thousands of children killed in Gaza. When the since October 7th, blah, blah, blah. Justice for Hind Rajab Act calls for a presentation of congressional findings on the attack, as well as broader patterns of civilian harm in Gaza, genocide, and a report from the State Department on all U.S. and Israeli efforts to investigate and hold accountable individuals linked to the attacks. Thank you for this coverage. I've been seeing you around, but your appearance in the Bituation Room really won me over. New Caroline Stan born. Okay. Welcome in, Zesty Zai. Definitely not a paid first-time chatter. Did you see that on the thumbnail? The thumbnail editor listed me as a journalist, and that my that I am a journalist on the Iran Report podcast. I was like, what? Wow, that's news to me. Canadians are sorry. Thank you for the 5 gifteds. Thank you. No, don't tell them. They're going to leave. Oh, they're like, wait, I'm here because I thought you were the journalist host of the Iran Report podcast. OMG, congrats. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's official. Cat lost. Yeah, that it fucking sucks. It sucks. And I have already kind of given my autopsy report and what I think we need to do going forward in races where there is not ranked choice voting and there's a pretty crowded progressive candidate field. And also, fuck AIPAC, fuck Israel. Support for Israel is falling every single day with Democratic voters. They have largely turned against Israel. Their sympathies lying with the Palestinian the Palestinian cause. So AIPAC will be, they already are, using this to spread lies that the pro-Israel position is a popular one. It is not. She did very well considering the amount of institutional opposition. Kat absolutely could have won that race, and she has a political career still ahead of her. She's only 26. She's 26. Kat is only 26 years old, so I feel confident that she's got a long career ahead of her. If people want to know what we can do next, it's to keep fighting. Here's another candidate we need to help win. Oh, Oliver Larkin for Congress. To everyone disappointed in progressives splitting the vote in Illinois congressional races, I'm the only candidate primarying AIPAC-backed Jared Moskowitz in Florida 23, and our first poll shows a clear path to victory if we get the word out. Yeah, and I think we need to be applying pressure to people like AOC and going, where the hell are you? We notice your absence. We notice you not saying anything publicly about these really crucial races. Not backing candidates who are challenging AIPAC and challenging Israel's power. If people want to know what we can do next, here's a candidate. Yeah. And then we have people like Ray Huang, if you live in Los Angeles, who's running for mayor. Oliver Larkin called me personally to thank me for my donation during his son's stream, and afterwards, he's a real one. I know somebody who went to college with him, and this person told me that he was a great guy. When they knew him in college, they said he's always been a solid guy. Also, the fact that this Illinois race, which is very gerrymandered, shows how blatant AIPAC is and how much they're buying elections like cat running, shows the lengths that AIPAC goes to destroy democracy. Yes, AIPAC is anti-democracy. Super PAC money is anti-democracy. We need to end super PAC spending. We need to end dark money. Let's not forget in the final week that dark money group that was paying progressive influencers to basically run a script that was clearly intended to pull support from Gat. Not the woke ginger. That's one less woke ginger. Woke ginger down. At least we still have Will Neff. He's the real woke ginger, okay? That guy's a phony. That other guy who calls himself the woke ginger, phony baloney. Okay, he's just in name. He is woke ginger in name. He is not a true woke ginger. There's the real woke ginger. Sky Nacho, thank you. Thank you for 13 months. Okay. Anyway, so the Justice for Hind Rajab Act demands that the government comply with U.S. prohibitions on assistance to foreign security units. Oh, you mean to evoke like the Leahy Act? Can't be sending money to foreign states that are violating international laws, such as the IDF, which have been credibly implicated in gross violations of human rights. The act would also require certifications by the Secretary of State and the U.S. Attorney General regarding government compliance with U.S. war crimes laws, including a commitment to investigate and, where appropriate, prosecute individuals responsible for the attack on Hind, her family, and the paramedics. Today, we honor the life of Hind Rajab, one of the tens of thousands of Palestinian children indiscriminately killed by the Israeli Defense Forces in Gaza, said Pramila Jayapal. This legislation importantly demands an investigation into her killing so we can finally begin to bring about accountability for the countless war crimes the U.S. has been complicit in inside Gaza. Oh, not to worry, because, well, I've been told that Israel investigates themselves, so no issues there. And sometimes they don't even investigate. Sometimes they just drop charges without any investigation, like those 5 soldiers who raped the Palestinian detainee on camera. And they have been lauded as heroes. They have been treated as the true victims in this situation because how dare they had even been arrested? How dare they had even been detained for committing violent, abhorrent acts of rape on camera? Yeah, they're celebrities. They are going around on Israeli media being heralded. How is it heroic to rape someone? Because when you do not view Palestinians as human beings, as much of Israeli media and society feels, then it is a heroic act for the great defenders of Israel to rape what they consider to be barbaric animals. Rape has always been a tool in the colonizer playbook. Also, there are IDF soldiers vacationing for free in Australia on taxpayers' funds. They call it a recovery retreat. Yeah. You know the joke by Frankie Boyle where he's like, here's the thing with American foreign policy is we will go over to a country, say in the Middle East, and destroy it and kill so many people. And then in 20 years, they'll make a movie about how American soldiers feel really sad. They're already doing that now with the Israeli military. Like I was reading about these, I've just so much reporting on how devastating it has been for Israeli soldiers, many of whom are quite young, to just be killing child after child after child or witnessing others doing so, that it's causing them to feel, it's causing them trauma. It's a very, very traumatizing situation for them to have to kill children or to witness others around them. Yeah, it's the constantly reframing who is a victim in a situation where one population of people is experiencing genocide and the other is committing it. They had an article about how the bulldozer crews feel so sad. Yeah. Because here's the thing. Reprehensible, inhumane, barbaric actions are excused as long as you feel kind of sad about it. As long as you express that it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great having to mass murder children. Yeah, what about the mental health of the concentration camp prison guards? Straight up, like during Nazi Germany, where a lot of the reporting would be on how troubled some Nazi prison guards have been from perpetrating the crime of genocide. Except, of course, they don't call it genocide. There's that study that came out recently about frontline active duty military service has become the #1 indicator of future acts of mass violence, domestic abuse, self-harm, or addiction. Likely Israel will experience a lot of that. There are so many stories I read where I go, if you were to, if this were to be like a story on a podcast, on a true crime podcast, it's like 101 serial killer behavior. There was one story I read, I think it was yesterday, about some military commander who had seen this 4-year-old child playing by himself, and he went and broke the child's arm and leg, and then I think eventually killed this 4-year-old. It's do you know what I mean? Where you read, it's not just the act of genocide that is ongoing. It is so many of these, the most sickening individual instances of Israeli soldiers and of settlers as well, illegal settlers in the West Bank, who are committing the most monstrous of acts. It's like torturing and raping and beheading and truly, like I said, something you would hear on a true crime podcast episode about some notorious serial killer. And it's like, wow, there seem to be a big population of serial killers over here in Israel. Yeah, and a lot of them taking just complete glee in it. I just saw a translated street interview of an Israeli verbatim saying the only good Arab is a dead one. These people revel in the extermination of multiple people. Yes, and they are raised from birth, being indoctrinated to believing that Palestinians are subhuman. They look at the population of Palestine, including children, and believe that they all need to be wiped out, that they are subhuman, that they are truly the evil party here by virtue of being Palestinian. How can you rehabilitate that? I mean, you can't. There's a sickness in a society that not just supports the genocide of their neighbors next door, that is being committed by their own state, but relishes in the torture and brutality and just sickening acts of evil. That is decades and decades and decades of total indoctrination, of just the most evil brainwashing. When you see settlers in the West Bank who cannot wait to unleash violence on Palestinians trying to survive on their own lands. Getting joy from daily harassing and knowing that they have impunity and knowing that they have the support of the police and of the military, who are often, right there alongside them, who are members of the Israeli government, who are settlers themselves. That it's like, as a child who's currently born in the West Bank, born on Palestinian land, has more rights than somebody who has lived there their entire lives for generations. The idea is to build the appropriate structures to break the cycle. Yes. The idea is that you have to destroy the system of apartheid that discriminates against Palestinians, not just in Palestine, but also in Israel, that discriminates against non-white Jews, non-white Israeli Jews. You have to completely dismantle and destroy these systems that are built on complete and total racial oppression. And then as future generations are not raised under a system like this, then you can begin to that's how you root out that sickness. Greater than 70% of Israelis have no issue with children dying. Yes, the majority of Israel supports supports what their government does. I see videos of 15-year-old children settlers committing heinous crimes to Palestinians. That is how they're being raised. Yeah. That is how they're being raised. And the other thing you'll hear a lot too, you'll hear the language, like Jonathan Greenblatt just said this at the ADL conference, where they'll say, you know, we are not, never again will we be Jews who are weak, which is in reference to the Holocaust, because in early Zionist writings, as they were, not the earliest before World War II, but like Theodore Herzl and others who later on were addressing the Holocaust and partially laid blame on the Jewish population being too weak, that they were subjugated due to lacking strength and due to lacking the power of a Jewish state. And so the founding of Israel being as a measure to ensure that they would be lions rather than lambs. And that's why they evoke that language of strength versus weakness. It's you look at Israel too, and so many Holocaust survivors live in poverty. There is this using of the Holocaust over and over again to justify regional colonialism and aggressive domination. They use the Holocaust to justify committing genocide, but they also frequently have, for decades, referenced Holocaust, Jews who died in the Holocaust, as having been weak, as if they had had more power than they could have been able to rise up against the Nazis. They see Holocaust victims and survivors as weak. Yeah, it's it is, again, a group that, like, the Holocaust survivors will be used by the Israeli government as a group that they pretend to care about, because they are survivors of one of the most horrific acts of violence that was done to, like, the Jewish community. They use them as props. Yeah.